Danny Merk was a major side character on Jersey Shore for years. We all came to know and love him throughout the show, and recently he's actually come forward to talk about what his life looks like now that the show's over, and even what his opinions on the cast are. And what he said about how he really feels about the cast will seriously shock you. Long before the cast of Jersey Shore moved into the iconic Shore House, it was actually Danny's personal residence. And during an interview with Vulture in 2019, Danny actually broke down how the whole thing played out for him. According to Danny, after much consideration, the producers at MTV decided that they wanted to look at Seaside Heights to film the show, because it had such a low population in the off months, but then exploded to have over 60,000 people once the summer started. So when they contacted a realtor about where they were able to film a 6-bedroom house on the shore, they were pointed right to Danny's house. At the time, Danny had no idea why he had producers knocking on his door, or if he even wanted to do something like that. But eventually, he got into more talks with the producers as they were all starting to seriously consider having the show at Danny's house. And Danny revealed that all this was kind of a long process. He had to deal with producers constantly coming around to interview him and check on the house, which they did every week for about 2 months. But he said that at the very end, a producer named Sally Ann Salsano finally came in and asked him how long it would take for him to get all of his things out of the house. Danny said that he originally told her it might take a couple of days, but then she handed him an envelope full of money and asked if he could be out in 24 hours. So that was exactly what he did, and the rest was history in the making. Interestingly enough, before MTV came knocking, Danny had no interest in being on a reality show, but ultimately, he decided to move forward with it because of the money. Of course, he was also famously their boss at the Shore store, where he employed all of the castmates. And in the interview, Danny even broke down exactly what the cast members made while working at his Shore store. On top of receiving free rent, the only money any of the cast members had at the time was what they made while working for Danny. In the beginning, Danny said they only got about $10 an hour, but it eventually went up to $15 and then $20 toward the very end. As far as how well they actually worked, Danny revealed that some of them actually did pretty well, while others were terrible at working. He said that Mike the Situation was the worst out of all of them and didn't really work all that hard at anything he had to do. And the same thing also went for Nicole, aka Snooki. Danny said that the only good year she actually had was when she was pregnant, which was because she couldn't drink and didn't have to deal with a hangover during her shift like she usually did. But for the most part, the other cast members apparently took it seriously. Danny even joked that Jenny was the best at upselling because she would bully people into buying things. Despite the fun and sometimes frustration of the show, Danny admitted that he thought the show would be done for good after the first season. He said that there were already so many reality shows on TV that the chances of this one making it big were pretty slim. So it was pretty shocking when it continued on for so many more seasons, and in many ways seemed like the gift that just kept on giving. But at the same time, it wasn't something that Danny ever expected to be a part of, and it seriously changed the course of his life forever. The craziness didn't really stop once the cast moved out, since everyone came around wanting to see the iconic Jersey Shore house. And Danny said that it didn't really feel like a house anymore, it felt more like a museum. But when the show finally did end, Danny said in an interview with the Huffington Post that he really didn't regret being a part of it at all. He said that there was really no downside to it, and it turns out that it's actually seriously helped his business, since everyone who comes in at least buys a t-shirt. Although he might get the occasional person yelling something rude, he said that the show's done a lot for the economy of the town, and even his neighbors, who run an arcade and pizza house, saw record-breaking revenue. He also said that he was starting to see city cleanups happening more frequently, and things around town starting to get fresh coats of paint and just look nicer. So the show has really done a lot of good, not just for him, but for everyone in Seaside Heights. During the interview, Danny also went into more detail about what he does when he's not at the Shore store. And surprisingly enough, he actually spends a lot of time in Florida with his family. He said that he works at the Shore store from April all the way until Labor Day weekend, which is the busiest and hottest time of the year. But after that, he goes down to Florida to help his family with the 17 Halloween megastores that they own, 2 of which are permanent businesses. So it seems like he keeps himself busy all year round, spending time between his own business and his family's business. Aside from talking about where he spends his time, Danny also talked about how he really feels about his cast members. Danny said that he gets a lot of people asking him which one of the cast members he hated the most, but he admitted that he didn't hate any of them, and said that it was impossible to hate someone who helped out his business so much. Danny said that he's extremely lucky to have had something like this just fall into his lap, and that people from all around the world now want to buy something from him. While he didn't say if he had any specific favorites, Danny said that he still kept in touch with Jenny, Pauly D, and Vinny after the show ended, and he said that he liked them just a little more than the others because they were the hardest workers out of the group. In 2019, the cast of Jersey Shore actually went back to Seaside Heights to revisit their old stomping grounds for their spin-off show, Jersey Shore Family Vacation. They visited Danny, and he was even invited to Angelina Pivarnik's wedding, which he was in attendance for in November of that year. It's clear that Danny made a strong bond with all of the different cast members, no matter how bad they were at working for him. I mean, he's continued to stay friends with them after all these years, and he even said that they see each other all the time. Although there were some ups and downs that he had to deal with as a part of the show, I don't think Danny would trade the experience experience for anything. And even though he never really expected something like this to happen in his life, he's clearly happy that it directly benefited him. So even though he was put out of his house and had to deal with all these crazy new employees, he gained some friends for a lifetime. And the support that it's given his business is completely irreplaceable and something that will continue to benefit him throughout the rest of his life. But anyway, what do you guys think about all this? What do you think about the producers just deciding they wanted to use Danny's house? And are you surprised that he's still so close with the cast members even after all these years? Let me know in the comments below.